out right in front of him there. So again, not high rates of speed, but we have 3 lanes here and no turn lane. So we'll see what happens if maybe Air 7 can pull out just a little bit. We can kind of get an idea as to what's going on with this beyond just that frame of view. So now you've got wide open roads. So that's another thing to look at this time of day, 12:51, day before the busiest travel day. But now you see this person approaching an intersection. The left turn lane looks open, and that's where he's going to go. And now we'll see if he makes his way through that intersection, which he does. That's probably the most dangerous move we've seen this person do so far as they have tried to elude authorities. But you saw from Air 7 up as they were looking forward, you could see that something had to happen. But this is LAPD following. Also, Los Angeles police are at the mother's house that we were speaking of. So if that is where this person is going, there is an LAPD presence at that location. And again, that is as we understand it, that is the mother of the victim in this domestic violence situation. And again, it was an assault with a deadly weapon.
Can you all hear me?
So there is a certainly higher level of risk now for authorities as they're following this person. Here we go through another intersection where you saw cross traffic actually stopped. They must have heard the officers or seen this suspect coming and approaching that intersection as they slowed down. So now we have, again, another intersection going into the left turn lane, which has been difficult, and now crossing into oncoming traffic into an intersection where you were going against the light. So now you can see how people were able to actually see what was happening, and they were forced to stop. There is just good fortune that no one was going through that intersection with the light as that person was coming through. So we now have a situation where this person has shown a couple of dangerous moves trying to elude authorities. They have used the left turn lane, and they're doing it again here, going through this intersection. And this is a couple of times where it has just been luck on behalf of everyone that the person just does not stop, goes right through the intersection, and nobody was in that intersection at the time. So this Maserati has gone through several intersections, driven into oncoming traffic, used the turn lane to pass any type of congestion he received, and at this point just continues to go forward. So as we approach another intersection and go through, you see it's just more of the same. But again, if there is any good news, it is that this person hasn't showed aggressive, really unsafe driving. It is simply the failure to yield. It is the danger of going into these intersections without anyone knowing that this person is coming. So here we are again, trying to figure out this street. Okay, still on La Brea. I didn't know if they had turned, but now you really see some traffic. So this is going to either be a U-turn, and it does look like it's a U-turn, and you saw that curb that he had to drop through. So now he'll be going back in the direction of any trailing officers that were there. So we're kind of blocked off by some of the buildings. So here we go. Now you can see that he has gone right back in the direction that he came. You probably gathered this by seeing the way Air 7 is having to shoot this, but we are having to watch out for LAX traffic. So we're not able to just simply follow if he had kept going the other direction. Now that he has turned back and started coming back in the direction, Air 7 is going to be much more likely to be able to be right on top. But now you can see the speeds have picked up a little bit as well. You see that this car has made the U-turn, went down off of a curb, got going up again, and now you're running back into the areas that we just saw a moment ago, blocked off by some trees. But here we go now through an intersection where people had stopped, but this person didn't, and so here we go again. LAPD couldn't really try a pit maneuver at this speed. It's too high rate of speed, but you did see the airship from LAPD above, and you see certainly ground crews right behind. So we're still in Inglewood. We're on La Brea, but going back in the other direction now. And we really it's just a chase. We have no idea where this domestic violence suspect might be going now because he has turned around. So we're not certain if this person had really any intent to go down to Redondo Beach or if that was just the general direction they thought he might be going. But now we see, again, a little bit heavier traffic on this, and you see that the LAPD has closed the gap significantly on this pursuit suspect. Don't know if they've changed tactics necessarily, but you're looking at about 48 to 50 miles an hour. We've seen him get up to over 55, 60 miles an hour on some of these streets, especially when there's no traffic and he's been able to just kind of maneuver his way through. So here we go, coming up on more intersections with LAPD right behind, some congestion in front. So now he's used the left turn lane to pass the people in front, and now he slides back over into that left lane. Not really sure, based off of Air 7's shot, what's in front of him, but take a look at that. Passing vehicles, using the turn lane. The good news is that the suspect can see in front of him, so he knows whether that is an opportunity or not. But here we go. Traffic is flowing through this intersection, and the suspect is going to force people to stop. He is now driven into that. But again, very similar to previous intersections, the suspect will slow down, and he doesn't drive recklessly through that intersection. There is a matter of just slowing down, and other people are giving him the right of way to avoid a collision. So we've been following this now. This was in the Inglewood area. It is a Maserati. We do not know if that is that suspect's vehicle or if it was a stolen vehicle, but we do know that this person is being pursued due to a domestic violence situation. There was an assault with a deadly weapon is what our initial reports are. We don't have much in the way of confirmation for that. But here we go again, driving through another tricky intersection. And that was the one that we saw a moment ago. And here you see into oncoming traffic. You're now in the right turn lane for traffic that should be going the other way. And he's stuck behind the median. Now we have a problem because this person is driving straight into oncoming traffic with nowhere to go. You see LAPD on both sides of this road now. This has taken a significant turn. The suspect is driving right in the direction of LAPD. They had several vehicles trying to block him off a little bit. You saw there. Looks like he's going to be able to slide back over, and he does. So now he at least has gotten it back on the right side of the road, taking the other people out of risk, because there for a moment, the way he was driving, he was coming into oncoming traffic, and people were certainly at risk if they didn't know he was coming. That was near Stalker. So we are continuing this chase. The suspect showing a little bit more aggression in the effort to get away. I'm assuming this is on Stalker Street now, no longer La Brea. But that was due to that tricky little intersection where it looked as if he could have kept going on La Brea, but now.
Let's see. Can you guys hear me better now, or is it just completely low? I'm working on fixing it, but I don't really know what's going on.
For a moment, there were LAPD officers on his proper side, but also following him through oncoming traffic, which created a mess for anybody that could have been coming in the opposite direction. So now closing the gap on the vehicles in front of him. He has pulled back at least a little bit. Oncoming traffic, once again, into the turn lane. This suspect is now trying to maneuver through all of the congestion into oncoming traffic again there. That's the left turn lane for the other side. And now it looks as if he's going to be able to find a way to get back over in his lane. Nope. He's going into traffic again, navigating all the way around that congestion where people were trying to turn left. He is now into the intersection. It looks like Crenshaw and Stalker, so that probably is Crenshaw that he has turned onto now. So he's now northbound Crenshaw, and they are apparently tracking him with the helicopter. Apparently, the officers are going to pull back just a little bit and give him some space, but they're still on the ground. And you see, that's almost caused him to accelerate. He might be seeing an opportunity here to try and elude authorities completely, but that was probably the most acceleration we've seen, not the most dangerous driving, but now upwards of about 70 miles an hour. Again, this is northbound Crenshaw, and we are near Leimert Park. So the suspect has really seen an opening and has taken it and really started to pull away here. The officers, again, on the ground, have decided to pull back due to the nature of his driving. And you can see by that shot from Air 7, he is still willing to drive into oncoming traffic and to use the left turn lanes to navigate around any congestion. And so now it's mostly in a tracking mode, but you can see the acceleration of that vehicle as he just takes off anytime he finds himself in an intersection or finding himself an opportunity to get away from congestion. Pulled in front of the vehicle. And now the dangerous part with this, the way he's driving, this does look like it's Jefferson now, that this suspect doesn't have officers around him. So there aren't officers to kind of alert the commuters as to why this person is driving this way. So this person is just able to get around people, which is great. Nobody's hurt. But you also have the opportunity to come up on somebody extremely quickly because you don't hear the sounds of sirens. You see right there, blowing through stop signs, nearly hitting a car as they came to a stop there to give him the right of way. Now you've got another area that you're just driving around, making the block almost here. This is in the West Adams area. You do see some of these speed bumps. Now he has driven into is that an alleyway or a driveway? It does look like he has pulled into the parking spot for maybe an apartment complex of some sort. We'll see if he's going to get out and try to get out, very casually getting out here. But you know officers are going to be there very quickly. They are at least in the area. And now we have a pretty good look at the suspect as he is walking away from that vehicle. Now, officers will likely be very near where he is. So they have been monitoring him, tracking him, and there they are right now. So they will have seen him get out of the vehicle from, you see some people, these are just bystanders who are now put at risk because they're on the sidewalk. We don't know if they might know the suspect, if they're trying to talk to officers, but the best bet for them would be to get out of the way. Now you see one woman running back in the direction of the apartment. The officers have guns drawn. We don't know, we can't see. The suspect got out of the vehicle and walked in the direction of the street. And then we saw two people in front. Now we don't know if they were out there to talk to officers. There we go. The suspect is on the ground and it looks as if a person is talking to them. I don't know if this was shots fired. I don't know if this person is laying on the ground, but it does look like two people. The people that we saw on the sidewalk might have walked over to the driveway and are trying to either offer assistance or keep that person on the ground. We are getting reports that there were shots fired. So we are waiting to see if there is no movement from the person who is on the ground. You can see the person, their legs are still. We don't know what's going on, but we did see the woman there run in the direction. There she is. So there's one woman that has been taken away by authorities. Again, we do not know the relationship of any of these people with the person that was being chased, but we do have reports that shots were fired. We saw a heavy police presence very quickly because the suspect was eluding authorities but was in tracking mode by the helicopter. So they knew that he had pulled into there and officers were very close. So they got there. We saw the suspect get out of his car and then walked down that driveway where he had driven. He obviously came upon officers and now they are approaching him to find out how they can offer assistance to get him medical treatment if indeed shots were fired. But that one other person has now been taken and moved away. So that is what officers are doing there. So now they will tend to the person who's on the ground and secure and make sure that that person is safe to be treated and transported if they are needed to be transported. Remember, this was a domestic violence chase, and there were reports of assault with a deadly weapon. So officers had to approach this suspect as possibly armed. We don't know if he was. We were blinded by that building, so we could not see the exchange between officers and the suspect, whether anything happened. We don't know what happened in that circumstance, but it does look like, and we don't want to get too close here with our camera, but it does look like the person is still on the ground. And we will wait to see here for a moment if there is a way to get medical personnel to there. If it's needed, certainly they will have them there as quickly as they can. But you do see at least 4 to 5 officers surrounding the suspect who is on the ground, and we see many officers continuing to go into that building. That is an apartment building. So we are getting reports from our desk. Multiple shots were fired. They have called
Oh, why is it freezing now?
For several supervisors and an ambulance. So it does look as if this will be certainly a long-playing investigation for this area. Officers, again, have approached that apartment complex. This is in the 3530 West Adams area. I don't know the street actually, but we're telling he's 35 years old is what we're getting word on the suspect. So you're looking at West Adams and West Jefferson Boulevard. You're going to have streets blocked off in this area for some time. But again, we have reports of multiple shots fired, and they have not moved the person yet who is there on the sidewalk, but they have requested an ambulance. So we do know that an ambulance has been asked for, and supervisors are being asked for. So that will be a situation where they will provide information to the media that will show up. But again, I don't know if we have the video available to us. What ended up happening was this officer, or this Maserati suspect, turned down that alleyway that you see there to the back, got out of the car, started walking down the sidewalk. Because they were in tracker mode, the officers did not follow him immediately down that sidewalk. They had stayed on the street. Here we go with what happened. So this is the suspect turned in here, and this is how we got blocked off as he went into the back. And you'll be able to see him casually get out of this vehicle and then walk forward down the side of the apartment. It did appear as if there were people in that apartment complex who knew this person, because they were outside, out front, when the officers first showed up. And you'll see what happens when this person goes to the front. You'll see two people on the sidewalk as if they were trying to get officers' attention. Now, this is where it gets confusing to us. You see the officers pull up. You see the two people here. They're talking to the officers, and then eventually the woman will run over in the direction that you see where the suspect is. So he was walking down that sidewalk. Once again, that's all the video we had. This is what they faced, and it was confusing for us because we couldn't see the suspect walking down that street, but the officers had a direct line of sight of him, and we are getting word that all officers are accounted for. So we do know that it does not appear as if officers were injured in this. You see the suspect with his hands in his hoodie. He puts his hands initially in his pockets, and then you'll see him put his hands into his hoodie jacket there. Don't know how that played a role. Don't know if that a factor at all. But you see, very quickly officers showed up. We can go back live now because that was the scene. Okay, we can't go back live just yet, and maybe they'll tell us why. Right now, we're just, okay, so it does appear as if the suspect was shot. So we do know, we're hearing now that there might be a woman with a gunshot wound to the arm. That's according to police on the scene. So the woman with a gunshot wound on the arm, you would think, is one of the people who went to this suspect as he came down that sidewalk, remember, or that driveway. Remember, you saw the two people out front. One of them was a woman. Now is this the live shot here again? So now we have the live shot again, and we do have one woman who was injured, and we have another person who was injured, very likely the suspect. All of this information is being gathered right now. And then, of course, you have all officers accounted for. It does not appear as if any officers were injured. Giovanna Lara is also here with me now as we kind of see this. It does look as if the general community is safe. Just it would be advised, if you're in an apartment building or one of these surrounding areas, stay inside. Do not come outside. Do not be involved in this right now, because there is going to be a long-playing investigation with this. But for anybody who lives in this area of the West Adams District, you need to be aware that there was an exchange of gunfire between officers and a suspect, and we do not know the condition of the suspect at this point.
Yeah, and that suspect was wanted for a domestic violence incident. LAPD Harbor Division officers were in pursuit of him on the 110 freeway. They are now in the West Adams district, as you've been saying, and this is where they had this confrontation where the victim appears to have been shot by officers there. It is good news that we can report that no officers have been hurt, but as you mentioned, there is that other possible victim or person who was nearby who was also hit by gunfire in the arm. We're still waiting to get more details on the incident, the initial incident involving the domestic violence.
Well, we did see you notice right here on this shot, if Air 7 will pan back over, you can see that there is an ambulance on site now. So there is at least one ambulance there. We're also getting word that they are asking for a second ambulance for the female. So here is one ambulance, but they're going to have to make sure everything is secure before they're allowing firefighters to get into that area. You see here on the right some of the chase video. Now you also have a fire truck there, so there is medical attention there. So now it's just a matter of securing that area and making sure that they can get those guys, get medical attention to the two people who were shot.
Yes, and we are hearing reports, and all of this needs to be confirmed, but we are hearing reports that the suspect at some point raised his arm as if he was holding something in his hand. Again, all of this not completely confirmed, but we are hearing reports that he raised his hand towards the officers, and that is the point at which officers appear to have opened fire.
Well, getting these little snippets of detail and then placing them into what we can see here on the right, you'll notice when the suspect gets out of the vehicle, he is wearing a hoodie. He pulls up his pants, so he's pulling his pants up, but if you notice, he'll put something into the pocket of his hoodie there, in the front pocket. I do not know what that is. I'm not trying to make any conjecture as to whether he was armed or not. But if you'll notice, as he walks away, he puts his hands into his hoodie there. That is a concern if you're approaching officers and you are A, a domestic violence suspect, and B, there are reports of an assault with a deadly weapon. That is a couple of factors that the officers know, and you have your hands in your jacket. So again, we're not doing the investigation here, but according to our helicopter, they say there are two guns on the ground next to the suspect. So Air 7 was able to zoom in while we were away. We did not want to show anything inappropriate, but according to our eyes in Air 7, you could see two guns on the ground. Again, there's a female victim in this that was shot. We don't know by who or how, whether that was the exchange of gunfire between the officers and the suspect, or whether that was the suspect. We just don't know. We couldn't see because the building was between us and the suspect. But now we are getting word that the suspect is down, and again, you see the ambulance is now trying to get there. But that also could be the ambulance for the woman who was shot.
Yes, and with a confrontation like this, it is likely that this area will be shut down for some time. This will be a lengthy investigation. Investigators will have to, figure out what exactly happened here. We are hearing bits and pieces, as you mentioned, Philip, but they're going to have to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together and.
Well, you see right there in the center of your screen, the live shot is on your left, and there is someone being treated there in the middle of the screen. We're wanting to be very careful as to what we zoom in on. Can't really tell. That is in the general area where we saw the suspect go down, or at least was on the ground. But remember, when we first were able to get around the apartment, you could see the suspect on the ground with two people very near him, almost protecting and on top of this person. So we don't know if maybe one of these people here are one of the female victims or the suspect. And now I'm looking at the video that I was speaking of. It's in our email. It does look like there are at least two guns and a cell phone that were on the ground next to the suspect. So again, now you're seeing fire department, LAFD able to try to get a gurney to the person. We do not have confirmation of the severity of the injury. We only know of the woman shot in the arm. We don't know the extent of the injuries to the suspect, but you see the two guns. We did see two guns on the ground in our access that we are not showing to you at this point, but you do see a heavy fire presence trying to take care of the people who are injured there in that driveway.
This is quite the end to a pursuit. We've seen so many pursuits recently, and they have ended peacefully with no one hurt. So to have this turn out in this way is upsetting.
Well, we're also getting word from LAPD that 8 supervisors now have been requested to the scene. So we can begin to draw conclusions, especially also with the manner that it does look like CPR is being performed on someone. Again, we're not going to zoom in very closely, but you can see off in the distance, CPR is being performed by one of the fire personnel, medical personnel there. You can see he's trying to do that. So that is likely the suspect who is down. We do not know. Again, that is not something you want to see if you're hoping the suspect is just going to be able to be treated and then taken into custody. This shows the severity of the suspect's injuries. We do not have any reason to believe that the woman who was shot in the arm is the person who is being given CPR in this circumstance. That was a secondary ambulance call for her. So it does look like people are being detained. Now, again, do not take anything from officers detaining people at a scene like this. That they are not under arrest at this point. They are being detained. This is a chaotic scene, as you can imagine. Some of the folks that came out of that apartment trying to
Philip,
talk to officers.
We have video of the guns. There it is, right there on the right of your screen. You can see.
Well, that's the picture that we were talking about.
Yeah,
There's a phone right in the middle by his foot, and then there is a gun at the top of the screen and a gun at the bottom of the screen, and that is those are images that we
from our
achieved
helicopter.
from Air 7. So again, the sidebar you see here on the notes on the side, this started with LAPD chasing a Maserati. It was a domestic violence call, assault with a deadly weapon, and the officers were at the scene of the mother's home. Now, we're not certain that that's what this location is. It could be, but
the mother's home was not this location.
No,
Redondo in Vermont.
Exactly. I'm just trying to explain that we don't know the relationship of this apartment complex to the suspect at this point. But there was a time during the chase where officers believed he was going to the home of the mother, and they were at that location. Then, of course, the suspect drove up into this apartment complex, and that is when the shots were fired, because we saw the suspect leave the Maserati, come forward in the direction that officers eventually arrived. And then we saw several people come out of the apartment, possibly talking to officers. And at some moment in there, that's when the shots were fired.
Yeah. And just noting when the suspect left the Maserati, he was walking very intentionally towards that driveway, towards the street. That is one thing that he wasn't hiding. He wasn't trying to run. Very intentionally stopped the car, walked, from around the apartment complex towards the street. So that is something to take note of. Again, all this happening within the last hour. We believe this started around the 12:30 time. And so very quickly, a lot happening in an hour, a lot to process and digest.
And we will have the latest on this on Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock. Again, shots fired. It looks like the suspect in this domestic violence assault with a deadly weapon has been severely injured, but he is getting treatment right now by LAFD. There are a lot of officers on scene. The investigation will play out over the next few hours, and we will, of course, give you the latest on Eyewitness News at 3. But for now, we're going to return you to ABC 7 programming.
All right. Well, that pursuit is wrapped up. I'm going to try to work on this microphone and this setup, but I appreciate you guys stopping by, and I'm just going to keep trying to go live more, whether it's just pursuits, missing people, just things like that, whatever is breaking.